Hi bowl bakers! It's kind of hard to believe, but Bigger Bolder Baking is 2 years old today, and we are going to celebrate by making the most impressive vanilla birthday cake with buttercream frosting. So let's get baking. Over the past 2 years, we've built up a really good repertoire of recipes, but today I want to share with you a master recipe for vanilla cake and for buttercream frosting. They are two recipes that every bowl baker must have to hand. We're going to start out by mixing together our wet ingredients. In a jug, add in your egg whites, a whole egg, milk, and vanilla extract, and then just whisk them all together until they're combined. Okay, that's our wet ingredients. We're going to set these guys aside and get started on our dry ingredients. For our next step, I'm going to mix my cake on my stand mixer, but don't worry because you can also mix this cake easily by hand. Into my bowl, I'm adding in my flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt, and then just give them a quick mix up with a spatula. Into our dry ingredients, we're going to add in our cold cubed butter. So now we're going to turn on our machine to medium-low speed, and we're going to let the paddle actually work the butter into the flour, and you're going to end up with fine breadcrumbs. Now I know this technique is a little bit different to what we've done before, but adding in the butter this way, it makes it nice and small and it gives your cake a different crumb and it makes it nice and buttery. And remember, you can also rub in the butter by hand, no problem. And this is what it should look like. There's some little lumps of butter, there's some finer pieces. This is perfect, this is what we're looking for. So now we're going to turn our machine back on medium speed and we're going to add in our liquid. All we're doing here is mixing it until our batter forms and there's no more lumps. It only takes a minute or two. And there you have it. That's our cake batter. You want to run a spatula underneath to make sure that there's no dry bits, but that's what we're going for. Okay, great. Now we're going to take this batter and get it into our cake tins. So I'm baking my cake in 3 6-inch tins because I want to get it nice and high. But don't worry, you can also bake it in an 8 or a 9-inch tin, and also it can be baked in cupcake tins. Into a buttered and lined tin, divide your cake batter evenly. You also don't have to use 3 tins like I am. You can always bake it in one and then just slice your layers. I can already tell these cakes are going to be big and bold. I can't wait to see them. We're going to pop this guy in the oven now at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius until they're firm on top and lovely and golden brown. While the cakes are baking, we're going to get started on our buttercream frosting. Now I know a lot of you find buttercream frosting hard, and I found it hard when I first started baking, but if you just follow my tips, techniques, I guarantee you will have foolproof buttercream frosting every time. I'm going to put this recipe with the instructions and the recipe for the cake on biggerbolderbaking.com. Into your stand mixer, add in your room temperature butter. So a really important tip is that your butter is room temperature and soft, but not melting. You want to get it a nice texture. So now we're going to turn on our machine to medium-high speed and cream up your butter. You want to get it nice and fluffy before you add in the sugar. You can also make this frosting by using an electric hand mixer, but it's very difficult to do by hand. So this is what you want your butter to look like. It's pale, it's grown in volume. It is the perfect texture to start adding in the icing sugar. So now we're going to turn back on the machine to like a medium-high speed, and we're slowly going to add in the sifted icing sugar spoonful by spoonful until it's all gone. Okay, great, it's looking good. All of our sugar is in there. It's kind of grown in volume. It's nice and soft. So we're just going to go in with a spatula and scrape down all of that icing sugar. Perfect. So to flavor this, we're going to add in some vanilla extract, some salt, a little bit of milk, and also I had some vanilla seeds. I'm going to add them in there too. It'll make it look really nice. Now that we've got our flavor in there, I'm going to turn the machine back on to high speed for around 3 to 4 minutes, let it all whip up, and then we're ready to go. This buttercream recipe can be made in advance and be kept in your fridge for up to 2 weeks, so it's really great. Okay, I can tell that this is done. Look at this. This is how your buttercream should look: light and fluffy, white, full of air, and that's the reason we beat it up so much. Some people say to me that their buttercream frosting tastes like butter. It absolutely should not. It should taste like air, and that's the reason we keep on beating it. If it does taste like that, then keep it going on that machine. This is perfect. It tastes like a fluffy vanilla cloud. It's going to go great with our cake. I just heard our timer go off there, so now we're going to set this aside and go check on our cakes. These cakes look great. They're lovely golden brown on top. They're nice and firm in the middle, which says that they're done. And also you can tell because it's pulled away from the edge of the tin. So this is my favorite part, the decorating, when everything comes together. Now I made this cake yesterday because it's always best to decorate maybe day-old cake because it doesn't get as crummy and it looks much better. Also, you can make this cake in advance and then freeze it, have it in the freezer for 3 weeks, and then just pull it out whenever you need it. Before we start frosting our cake, we're going to even out the layers to make sure that everything is level and smooth and it frosts much better. So if you have a little bump on top like I do, take your knife and then just cut as straight across as possible. And then just remove that lump, and then you end up with a nice level top. Now that we have our cakes leveled off, we're going to start to decorate. I actually like to decorate mine on a little bit of a turntable because it makes it really easy to frost. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. Put a nice dollop of buttercream in the center of your cake. And then with your spatula, we're just going to move it all the way around to the edges. I like my buttercream to be nice and thick. And try and get it as even as you can. I know it's not easy, but you know what? The less you think about it, the better of a job you're going to do. Now go on with your next layer and just continue frosting as before. Okay, so on with our last layer. Now what I like to do is use his bottom as his top, so you get a lovely even layer when it comes to decorating. Just look at that, it looks fantastic. So our next layer is our crumb layer. Now this is a really important step because it catches all of the loose crumbs, so it won't make its way into your final decorating of your cake. So all you want to do is put on frosting on top, and we're going to work it from the top of the cake all the way down the sides. We're just doing a thin layer all over, trying to catch any loose crumbs. This is just a rough layer. What this also does is make your cake nice and straight and even, which is something that I had trouble with cakes in the past until I started doing this method. As you can see, it's catching up all of the crumbs because we don't want those in our finished product. And that is our crumb layer. It even actually looks pretty good right now. What we're going to do is take this cake and pop it in the fridge and let this icing go cold and set. It'll take around 20 minutes, half an hour. It'll make it much easier to decorate on this once it's cold. Our cake has been in the fridge for half an hour and our crumb layer is set. You can tell because it's nice and firm underneath your finger. So now we're going to go ahead and put on our last coat of buttercream frosting, and then we're going to cover it in sprinkles. I always like to start at the top of the cake decorating so I can work it down the sides. And like I said before, the faster you move, the better your result. Continue around the cake with a nice thick layer of buttercream frosting. We have every patch, every little space of cake covered in frosting. It doesn't look perfect, but don't worry about it because our next step is to cover it in sprinkles. And as we all know, sprinkles cover a multitude of sins. To decorate your cake with sprinkles, start by pouring them all over the top. And then for the sides, you're just going to have to take handfuls of sprinkles and pretty much just throw them at the side of the cake and make them stick. One important tip is to put a baking tray down underneath the cake so it catches all of the sprinkles, so you can just reuse them and then throw them back on. Now, I'm pretty sure you can already see why I love this method of decorating. Number one, because it's super easy. Number two, because you don't have to be a perfect cake decorator to be able to do this. It is a great way to decorate an impressive cake. And there you have it in just minutes, a big and bold birthday cake. It looks insane. The thing about this cake is it doesn't need a whole lot, so I'm just going to pipe some rosettes of buttercream on the top, and then just look at this. How fantastic, what a great celebration cake. Perfect for Bigger Bolder Baking's birthday, perfect for your birthday. This technique of decorating with sprinkles is so fast and easy, I know you'll be able to recreate it. Look at all those layers and the sprinkles. I love the color and the contrast. It looks fantastic. This cake is soft and moist and the taste of vanilla is just gorgeous. It reminds me of birthday cakes I used to have when I was growing up. Thank you so much for the great support over the last 2 years and being part of the bold baking community. I couldn't have done it without you. Second birthday! Yay!